This video was brought to you by me. Okay, so I am very late getting around to watching this because I have not been home while this was going on. So, based on the title of the video, we already know it's PS5 Pro technical presentation. So, Sony has officially revealed the PS5 Pro. I have yet to actually take a look at it. I have yet to really watch this whole presentation. So, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to give my thoughts on it. I'm going to just see what the whole thing is about, see if this is worth the upgrade. I'm not 100% sure on what the price even is, but I would say I'm excited, but I will save my thoughts on whether or not I am excited on this for after the video. So, here we go. Let's see what we got here.
Hi, I'm Mark Cerny. I'm
Hi, Mark
excited to
Cerny.
be here to talk about the newest addition to our console lineup, PlayStation 5 Pro, and how it advances gaming technology. But
Cool.
first, I want to take just a minute to look at what we put in the original PlayStation 5 and how it delivers an exceptional
That's
gaming
not the original
experience.
PlayStation 5, sir. That is the Slim model.
When PS5 debuted in 2020, it brought a lot to the table. 8 Zen 2 CPU cores form the brains of PlayStation 5 and enable high-speed complex gameplay, with character counts reaching into the hundreds.
Well, it certainly brought a good bit in terms of performance, but
120 frames a second.
I'll get into all that after
RDNA
this is
2
over.
GPU, which can render anything from intricate details to fantastic worlds with vast panoramas to explore. Ray tracing allows for dramatic visual improvements, including reflections off of
I'm pretty
water
sure
or
a
glass,
good amount of people don't
and the
care about
realism
ray
that
tracing
comes from
anymore.
real-time global illumination.
Pretty sure.
A custom SSD can load data at breathtaking speed, resulting in ultra-fast transitions between game worlds and data streaming rates so high that traversal speeds are essentially unlimited.
So basically what you're saying is the
Tempest
PS5
3D audio tech
standard
brings an unparalleled sense of immersion to the sound of the
is
games.
so good that we didn't even need a PS5
With
Pro to
audio
begin
so
with. Got
real,
it.
you may not even need to see the enemies to know exactly where they are. Finally, the DualSense controller has haptics that let you feel through your hands what your character is experiencing.
Yeah, and you
inside
recently
the game.
raised the price of it by $5, so
It's
thank you,
wonderful
Sony.
to see such variety and richness of game experiences.
Uh-huh.
Creators have made amazing use of the hardware capabilities, but when I talk to them, I do hear about their desire for more graphics performance. The dreams of the developers are bigger than can be supported at 60 frames per second, and that leads to an aspect of modern gaming that we're all familiar with: graphics modes. It can be a difficult
I will take
choice for
performance
players.
modes over graphics modes.
Fidelity modes emphasize the visuals, typically through higher resolution rendering. These modes might also have enhanced detail or use more ray tracing. But the games only run at 30 frames per second. The visuals can be choppier and the controls less responsive. Performance modes emphasize frame rate and interactivity, typically choosing to run at 60 frames per second, mainly by reducing the graphical detail.
Me
until those
personally,
frame
I
rates
feel
can be
like
achieved.
with performance modes, the games still look good
When asked to
without
decide
the
on
graphics
mode,
mode enabled,
players are
but that's
choosing
just me.
performance
I'm
about
not
3/4
picky,
of the
so...
time. Removing that decision, or at least narrowing that divide, is one of the key targets for PlayStation 5 Pro. We want to give players the graphics that the game creators aspire to, at the high frame rates that players typically prefer. To do that, PS5 Pro substantially improves over PlayStation 5 in 3 ways. Here's what we call the Big 3. First, we made the GPU much larger and increased the speed of the memory it uses. The result is rendering that's up to 45% faster.
Okay.
Second, we made major upgrades to the ray tracing, taking a streamlined and accelerated approach that allows calculation of the rays at double or even triple the speeds of PlayStation 5. And finally, we added custom hardware for machine learning and an AI library called PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR for short. PSSR analyzes the game images pixel by pixel and can add an extraordinary amount of detail, which boosts the effective resolution of the games.
It's AI
Game creators
driven.
are adding PS5 Pro support to new and existing titles. And with the big three involved, the results can be pretty amazing, with graphics showing something like fidelity levels of detail, but at double the frame rate. Here's The Last of Us Part 2 running on PS5 Pro.
Cool.
It has huge amounts
They're
of detail
using a
and targets
PlayStation
super
4
smooth
game
60 frames per
to
second.
show this off. And yes, I know
Compare
I
this
got
to
it.
the
I
fidelity
know
on PS5,
it got a
which is only
PS5
running at
remake,
30
but
frames per second, and is
this was
therefore
still
much
basically a
choppier.
PS4 game, so I'm counting it as a PS4 game.
This goal of delivering almost fidelity-like graphics at performance frame rates has been achieved for a broad set of titles, including Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
I'm not seeing much of a difference.
And
I'm
Ratchet
sorry,
and
but I'm
Clank
just
Rift
not.
Apart. We can see that PS5 Pro is close to doubling the power of PlayStation 5. Another way to compare the two consoles is to look at PS5 Pro versus Performance mode on PS5, both of which target 60 frames per second. What we see here is a difference in detail. PS5 Pro is much sharper and crisper than PS5. For this, my favorite is the parade scene from Ratchet and Clank. Distant details are much clearer. And
Okay,
here,
I'll
we can see
give it that.
Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is noticeably higher resolution throughout the scene, including the trees and procedural cars. So overall, some remarkable improvement to the games. On PS5 Pro, we can see increased sharpness to the graphics or smoother and more responsive gameplay. This is the big three showing their value. As you've been seeing, machine learning via the PSSR library.
I
is
love how
being
they
used
use
quite
Ratchet
broadly to add
as, like,
pixel
a
detail and
demonstration
boost
for
frame
that.
rate. But there are as many approaches as there are game engines. The increase in raw GPU power is being especially effective for Horizon Forbidden West. Apart from the detail boost, that extra graphics power is allowing for improvements to lighting and visual effects, as well as to the hair and the skin in cinematics.
I'm pretty sure people don't really care about the details to that extent. Like, I personally don't care
Ray
about
tracing
how
is
many
finding broad
freckles I can
usage as
see on
well,
somebody's
particularly
face.
when the games are focused on higher frame rates.
That's just me,
The
though.
faster hardware in PS5 Pro can make a real difference, allowing Gran Turismo 7 to add ray-traced reflections between the cars in gameplay, while continuing to support their targeted 60 frames per second. That boost in ray tracing is also delivering big wins for Hogwarts Legacy, allowing not only
Neato.
for better reflections and a greater variety of reflective surfaces, but also for further realism in the casting of shadows. I hope you've enjoyed this run-through of the technology behind PlayStation 5 Pro. Simply put, it's the most powerful console we've ever built, and a worthy addition to the PS5 family. Let me wrap this up by giving you a quick look at a number of games running on the new console.
Speaking of games, where's your new games? Like, hello? Can we get some actual, like, new games for this thing? Okay, not gonna lie, the design of the PlayStation 5 Pro there, it looks very basic. I mean, the PS5 already looked basic anyway, but they did not make the PS5 Pro look any cooler. They just didn't. I guess it's not really about the looks, though. I'll get into all that in a moment.
What's with all the neon?
I don't know if it's the video itself, but I'm not noticing much of a performance difference. I'm just not. So how much is this thing gonna be? I'm guessing that it's gonna be roughly $600 to $700. That's my current guess. I have not checked Twitter or anything. I've been avoiding Twitter like the plague just because of this. Oh, well, what do you know? I kind of guessed it right. $700. Wait a minute. Okay, I I need to get my thoughts together on this, but I kind of just noticed a little something as well. Like, I'm I'm gonna go back real quick because I want to see. Come on, there we go. There's no disk drive on this thing. The PS5 Pro looks like an all-digital model. Oh no, that is a huge turnoff right there, just on its own. Well, I guess it's gonna be time for me to spell my thoughts on this. Here in a moment. Is there nothing else? Okay, no, there's literally nothing else. Okay, so, I got some thought spilling to do. What do you do? Well, as you guys saw, the PlayStation 5 Pro exists. I have a number of thoughts on it, as you already know. I'm gonna go ahead and address the elephant in the room to start with. The fact that it has no disk drive. That right there, that's a big turnoff for me just on its own, because some of my games I won't be able to play on this thing because I have physical copies. For example, my copy of Persona 3 Reload is physical. I can't play it on here. My copy of Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is physical. I can't play it on here. There's literally no disk drive. And I didn't see anything about a disk drive attachment to it like with the PS5 Slim. So I'm not too sure if they even planned on including that. But I don't know. I don't like the fact that it doesn't have a disk drive. So that right there is one big complaint that I have with this thing. But I guess it's not... for some people it's not that big a deal. For me it is, though. Because I just prefer physical games. So there's that. And I guess while we're at it, the three things that they supposedly enhance, like the GPU and the RAM and whatever else I forget. The fact, okay, yeah, there's like the graphics mode, fidelity and performance and whatnot. Like, that was the whole thing with the PlayStation 5, and I don't know, for me personally, I always preferred the performance mode, not just because of the 60 FPS, but because the games, to me, still look fine with the performance mode enabled. But with the graphics mode, the games do look slightly better, not by much, but I also don't understand why people think the 30 FPS is a huge deal breaker. 30 FPS is not a deal breaker, at least not to me, because I've grown up with games that run at 30 FPS. Heck, I played games on the Nintendo 64 that ran at like 15 to 20 FPS, so for me, that's not really a big deal. As long as the game is stable and it's playable, I'm fine with that. So, I don't know. I mean, the fact that the PS5 Pro is capable of doing performance mode with that graphical enhancement is cool. Okay, so larger GPU, advanced ray tracing, and yada yada, so on and so forth. Okay, that's what it is. But case in point, it's cool that the PS5 Pro can do that, but at the same time, did we really need this? Like, I'm still kind of hung up on the fact that I wish that Sony would focus more on releasing first-party games instead of like hardware or whatever, because the PS5 Slim, it hasn't been too awful long since the Slim model came out, and now the PS5 Pro is here. But I don't know. This is another thing I'm not a fan of as well, the AI-driven upscaling. Like, I'm not against the upscaling. I just personally don't like anything using AI. That's my biggest complaint right there, is I'm not a fan of AI, which I know in this instance it's not like super harmful or anything, but I just don't like the fact that a lot of companies are basically trying to turn us into a real life sci-fi type thing. Because like, I say that because like you see all the time in science fiction movies, like just to name one, iRobot. those robots were literally programmed by AI, and they all tried to take over and whatnot. And essentially, we're heading in that direction where AI is kind of just taking over everything. It's not quite on the same level as iRobot by any means, but I don't like the fact that AI is even considered to be a good thing with this, for the simple fact that, again, it's AI. People use AI to do harmful things. I know in this case it's not being used to do something harmful, but just the fact that they're even using it at all, it's kind of weaseling it in a bit to where people are becoming more accepting of AI, and I don't like that. That's a bit of a hot take, I know, but I'm spilling my thoughts and I'm running with it, so there you go. And I'm probably repeating myself with this, but I honestly did not notice any real performance increase, nor did I really notice any graphical increase, which granted, that could just be due to the video. Like, streaming a video and whatnot, or uploading a video, that's not quite on the same level as seeing it in person, so I'm going to take that into consideration. But definitely, like, the comparisons, to me, they just didn't look much different, if really any different. There was a couple shots that did look clearer, I will say that, but not by much. So honestly, I'm not too sure if it's worth upgrading to if you already have a PlayStation 5, but it's something I would have to see in person. I'm personally not going to be upgrading to the PS5 Pro just because I don't need to, and the price point as well playing a factor into it. That's another discussion that I will get into in a second, but case in point, I kind of find it funny as well that Sony decided to take a remake of a PlayStation 4 game to kind of showcase some of the new enhancements with it. Like I said earlier, I know The Last of Us Part 2 got a PlayStation 5 remake, even though it didn't need one, but I digress. But that was originally a PlayStation 4 game, and honestly, the only thing they did with the PS5 remake is, like, increase the graphical fidelity a bit, like, make it look graphically prettier, and they gave some quality of life improvements to the controls, I think. I don't know because I never played it, and I don't really plan to play it, but essentially, that's all they really did to it. So, it's still basically a PS4 game, just kind of improved a little bit for PS5. And I'm going to put it on pause right here, just for this, right here. The $700 price tag. Why? Well, I mean, I kind of get why, because it is a PlayStation 5 but more powerful, but at the same time, Sony, you have lost your freaking minds with this. Like, if you want to sell this thing, for one, like, at $700, you should have at least included a freaking disc drive or something, like, or maybe a disc drive attachment, I don't know, because, like, you can literally tell by looking at it, it's an all-digital model. Like, there's literally no disc drive on it. The DualSense controller is the exact same, which, I mean, that's to be expected. It's their main controller. I'm not angry about the controller. I'm more angry about the fact that they're charging $700 for this thing and not even giving you a disc drive to play your physical games. So, that right there is another reason I'm not going to upgrade to this thing, because, like I said, I have some PlayStation 5 games that I won't be able to play on this thing unless I buy them again, and I'm just not going to do that. So, that right there is a huge turnoff for me when it comes to even buying the PlayStation 5. Sudden video pause and interruption. I need to make a quick correction, because I was actually just informed as I was editing this video that the PS5 Pro will have a disc drive, but it is a separate purchase. So that right there is yet another reason for me to not upgrade to this thing. I was already salty that it didn't have a disc drive, but the fact that there is a disc drive and you have to actually buy it separately, that right there is a frustrating thing right there. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out there real quick, just to kind of make sure the information is more accurate. My apologies. Now, back to the video. And like, I'm not saying that this is going to be a flop. I do, however, feel like this is not going to sell as well as the PlayStation 5. I mean, pre-orders could possibly sell out, but I'm not too sure on that yet. Because, like, it's a $700 system, and I'm very confident that a lot of people don't have $700 just casually laying around to buy a system like this. Me personally, I feel like if you already have a PlayStation 5, this wouldn't really be worth upgrading to, especially if you have a disc model and you buy physical games, because again, there's no disc drive. If you don't have a PlayStation 5 and you don't care about physical games, this would probably be a good option, but there is the PlayStation 5 Slim model that can play digital games, and it has a disc drive attachment if you ever want it. That's far cheaper, and it plays all the same games. Yeah, you won't get the same performance, but the PlayStation 5 already has good performance as it is. So, like, I don't really see the need to upgrade to that, just because the PlayStation 5 alone is already good enough. What I really wish Sony did was focus less on stuff like this and more on good first-party games, and I say good first-party games because we all saw the whole debacle with Concord, so I'm not even going to get into that. Other YouTubers have already covered that, so I'm going to withhold my opinion on that, but that was already a massive financial flop. Like, if I remember correctly, $250 million. People obviously don't want stuff like that, but then we got a game like Astrobot, and Astrobot is a game that a lot of people are praising, so people want stuff like that. See, like, my thing is, if Sony would just give us games like that and stop focusing on stuff people don't care that much about, we would be in a better place. And I'm not saying that people don't care about, like, frame rates and high graphics and stuff like that, and I know people do. That's one of the reasons why the PlayStation 5 Pro was even created. It's just, my thing is, the PlayStation 5 Pro, in my personal opinion, isn't needed because, like I said, we already have good performance with the PlayStation 5. Yes, you would have to turn on performance mode and you would lose some of the graphical fidelity, but the thing is, the games look fine in performance mode. As long as I can tell what's on screen, I don't really care, and I honestly feel like the games benefit more from just performance rather than graphics. That's just me, personally, because, like, my thing is, if the game is playable, I don't really care how it looks as long as I can tell what's on screen. Like, I'm literally somebody that can go back to a Nintendo 64 game and play a Nintendo 64 game with ease. So, I don't know. That's just me. I'm not picky with graphics, so I can only really speak for myself. I'm pretty sure a lot of PlayStation fanboys are going to be like, oh yeah, I gotta get this. Like, this is the PS5 Pro, baby. Like, I have to get it. I know a lot of people who are big Sony fanboys that will most likely get this thing. I don't know. Me personally, I'm gonna skip out on the PS5 Pro. I never even upgraded to a PS4 Pro. I still have my standard PS4, and I'm honestly happy with that. So I'm gonna be happy with the standard PS5. Now, the only thing that will kind of make me mad is if Sony made games that only ran on the PS5 Pro, which at that point you may as well call it the PlayStation 6, but I digress. I don't think they're gonna do that, but that would kind of tick me off a little bit. So, I don't know. That's pretty much my overall thoughts on the PlayStation 5 Pro. I don't think it's 100% needed, but, I mean, it's here. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be happy with it. A lot of people are going to be pissy with it. Like, whether people feel like it's a needed upgrade, whether people are going to feel like it's not needed, whether people are going to be okay with the price point, whether people are going to not be happy with the price point, that's completely up to the individual. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on the whole thing, but I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Are you excited that this thing is here? Do y'all want to get this thing? Do y'all feel like it's worth getting? I don't know. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below, and as always, I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you for taking the time to watch.